Hey, good evening, everybody. Hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. Got lots of food in your belly. Had a good time with the family. That's the most important. That you spend a lot of time with your family. This holiday seasons can be tough for some people, so I hope yours was one with many blessings. Many blessings. I know mine was. I have my kids all here, all except my older son. He spent it with his mother, which is perfectly fine and acceptable with me. I'm not the only parent he has, and so same with all my children. We share them. I'm not the only parent, so. But I was happy to have them and my granddaughters all here. It was a house full, but it was fun. I love my family a lot. And I thank God that I have them today because it's only by the grace of God that I do have them in my life. You know, one of the things that we do is we talk at recovery centers a whole bunch about the sexual abuse of men and boys. It's all over Southern California. Hey, hello, Lonnie, Tika. I'm glad you guys joined me. Um, Southern California recovery centers. We speak at conferences, but I want to go back to the recovery centers because one of the things that we had to break through was this belief that in order for anybody to work on their abuse issues, they had to have 1 year of sobriety under their belt, and nothing could be further from the truth. It's one of the things that need to be addressed immediately right out of the gate. I know I did it when I was. Hey, Rebecca, thank you for joining. I know that I jumped right into my abuse issues as soon as I got into treatment, and that's what saved my life. So we've been able to break that stigma, and people are letting us in the treatment facilities, talking to the new patients and the older ones as well. Kevin, good to see you. So, when you think of the statistics, 80% of chemical dependent people have been sexually abused, and what we know is it's probably about 95%. I had one therapist actually tell me that she believed at least 95% of her men in her facility were sexually abused. So there's something that needs to be talked about. It needs to go hand in hand with getting the drugs and the alcohol out of your system. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. I quoted a piece from my book from page 145, chapter 8. It's right here, chapter 8, which is entitled "Getting Clean." What I wrote on Facebook today was, in order to heal, I had to get clean and sober. There was no more evading the truth or evading or denying that truth. I had to deal with my childhood. I couldn't do that while I was still drinking alcohol and taking drugs. My marriage was on the line, but I had come to realize over the year of therapy that my very life was on the line too. So I had to deal with that childhood. And so many people think that we just get over it. Men, they just get over it, man. They grow out of it. It's no big deal. And I beg to differ with them. And there was at one point in time, there probably still is, the theory of therapists that they don't want to talk about the past. They want to talk about now. What can we do to improve now? And that has its place. I'm not going to argue that point. But we need to talk about what happened to us because for a long time we couldn't talk about what happened to us. We buried it behind the drugs and the alcohol. So hand in hand, we have to quit drinking. We have to get rid of the drugs and the alcohol. We have to work on that as well as with the abuse. Because as long as I was still drinking and using, it was absolutely impossible for me to get out of the victim role. I remember walking in. I think it was my first or second meeting of AA in 2006. I was detoxing. I was a mess. And I remember this old boy, man, Crusty Rusty, we called him, and he's since passed away. And he just said, if you're drinking because him, her, it, or any other thing that happened in your life, you'll never quit drinking. And that stuck with me for some reason. I came home to my wife, this guy said something, and it really is sticking with me. The next meeting I saw him, I says, hey, what did you mean when you said that? He says, Randy, if you're drinking because you're a victim, You'll never quit drinking. And that woke me up because I'd been drinking because I had lived as a victim. Hey, what's up, Michael? I've been living as a victim for 38 years. For 38 years. You know, as long as I continued to drink and use, I was delusional about what was causing my pain. And I was in denial about my responsibility to others and myself. Everything was everybody else's fault. It wasn't my fault. I'm fine. I'm good. Look at me. I'm a successful businessman. What can be wrong with me? It must be your fault. You know, if what happened to you happened to me, you'd be drinking too. You'd be acting this way too. You have a right to do this. As I say, as long as I was drinking and using, every problem was someone else's fault. It was never my fault. Never my fault. I can never take the blame for anything. If something got messed up on a job, it was another contractor's fault. Okay? If something got messed up, you know, at home, it was my wife's fault. Never my fault because I had to be perfect. And anything less than perfect meant I was worthless. And that worthless feeling isn't a good feeling to have. After all, I justify myself. How can my problems be my own fault? How could they be my own fault? When you looked at me from the outside, what did I have? I had a beautiful wife. I still have her, by the way. Thank God. And a beautiful family, thank God. I had a fancy house, expensive cars, and $1 million business. At which I showed up every day to work. Every day to work. So how could I possibly have a problem? You were the ones with the problem. Poor me. Then when I drank, used drugs, poor me would come out. So I was a victim. And in order to fully heal, I had to work through that victim mode. And the way I was able to do that was some phenomenal counselors at Betty Ford Center with, hey, Tony, glad you joined, with some phenomenal men, mentors, Roy and Way Spiritual Day, two of my sponsors they were older gentlemen. They were absolutely phenomenal. They loved me back to life. You know, Roy would put his hand on my shoulder, and the first time I met him, and say, hey, Randy, you're enough, and I love you. I could never figure out what he was saying when he said that to me until he sponsored me, and I asked him one day, I go, Roy, what do you mean by that, man? I love you. I love you. I can understand that. You didn't even know me, but you love me unconditionally, no judgment. He says, Randy, you're enough. You're not more than, and you're not less than. We're all enough. No matter what happened to us in the past, no matter what lies were told to us as kids growing up, we're all just enough. We're not more than, and we're not less than. We're just enough. It doesn't matter what happened to us in life. It doesn't matter where you are on the totem pole. If you're at the top of a Wall Street penthouse, you're not more than me. You're not less than me. Yeah, your title might say I'm this person, but as a human being, you're no more than me, and you're no less than me. We're equal. So, you know, there's no way with all this that I had in my life that I could be an alcoholic. There's just no way. But the reality is that I'm an alcoholic, but today what I identify as is I struggled with alcohol and chemical dependency for a period of 38 years because I identify myself today as a child of God. Okay, what I am is not an alcoholic. What I am is a child of God. But don't get me wrong there, because I know if I was to pick up a drink or a drug, I'd be right back in the quagmire of garbage I was in before, and I don't want to go there. But I can't identify myself as an alcoholic because that's not who I am. It's a problem that I had in the past. You know, and all this did too, all this victim stuff that I was playing in, drugs and alcohol, all I did was run away from my emotions and feelings for years. And years and years and years. If I can line up all the moments that I had actually lived without running from my feelings. So if I take my almost my 59 years of life, and I take the moments of that lifetime that I was running from my feelings and my emotions, I would still be a teenager. And in a lot of ways, I am. I mean, they say, when you get sober, you'll find out how old you really are, and it's when you take your first drink. So the reality is, when I walked into recovery in 2006, I was probably 12 or 13. I'm coming up on 11 years. That means I'm about 25 years old right now, 23 years old. And sometimes that's what I feel like. 23-year-old in a 60-year-old's body, which is great. It's great. I love it. So, look at the first thing we got to do. We can't, if we're a victim of any kind of abuse, or we're a victim of any kind of crime, or we're a victim of anything, if we're drowning those feelings and those emotions behind drugs and alcohol, you're never going to get out of it. Find somebody, find a mentor, find a pastor, find somebody that you can sit down with that will validate how you feel, that will not judge you, will not tell you what you need to do, that will just listen to you and love you. Put the alcohol and the drugs down, because they're not helping you. They're only making matters worse. Get you deeper and deeper into a hole. Believe me, I know. But when my feelings were validated and people finally listened to me and listen to the deep feelings of it with no alcohol or drugs, my life became amazing. Absolutely amazing. You too can have that life. So that's about all I'm going to talk about today. If you're a victim and you're drinking, find, like I say, get somewhere that can help you. You don't need to drink. It's not going to solve your problems. It's not going to solve your problem. It's going to make it worse. And hand in hand, work on your drug or alcohol addiction, or food addiction, or gambling, or sex, pornography. Doesn't matter. It's all the same. Work on that addiction and work on the victimism at the same time. I promise you, your life will get better. So hey, you can get my book and read more about this, and I'll probably next week going to go more into detail about some of this from this chapter. Talking about it next week. But you can get my book at on Amazon.com. It's Healing the Man Within on Amazon.com. I'm hoping, I got to go back this week. I'm hoping that before Christmas, my book will be in at least the local Barnes & Noble here in Palm Desert. I've done everything they've asked me to. I got to have one more meeting and make sure that it's what they wanted. And so I'm really hoping that they'll be in the local Barnes & Noble at least by Christmas, and then I will get it nationally to come. I just got to do a little more paperwork to get it done there. So get my book at Amazon.com. You can read a lot more about that. And by the way, it says Healing the Man Within, but it's for everybody. The more feedback I'm getting, it's making me think I need to change the name of the book, because women are reading it going, my God, Randy, this is for us. Even if you weren't sexually abused, you need to read the book, because it gives you a thorough understanding of why your husband, that you don't know what's going on, or your wife, why are they acting this way? The book will tell you why. People used to look at me, why, Randy, what's wrong with you, man? What's wrong with you? You got the world in your hands. You got a business. You got. Look at your wife. Look at your family. Why are you so miserable and unhappy? This book will tell you why. It's not only me. It's 1 in 4 men and 1 in 3 women have been sexually abused. So get my book. Visit my website, changeyourlifestorynow.com. Hey, Swan. Marcella, thanks for joining. You can go to my website, changeyourlifestorynow.com, changeyourlifestorynow.com. I'm a certified life coach, Christian certified life coach, so I'm currently taking new clients. And if you're stuck anywhere in life, relationships, just stuck, if you can't get unstuck, I can walk you through that process. And then if you go to my website, you can read up about all that, and there's a little contact page in there. You can just fill that out. I'll get the email, and then I'll email you back. We'll set up a time to talk. In January, I am going to be doing, thanks, Swan. In January, I'm going to be doing Kathy and I are going to be doing a couples workshop sometime in January, probably the middle to the end of January. So more will be revealed on that. And then also the last thing, as always, the Ride Across America is starting to fall in place. The routes are done. I have a meeting with somebody that's going to help me a lot next Monday. And then once I have that meeting, then I can proceed with a lot of other stuff. So if you're interested in being of service of any kind, volunteering, I'm going to be looking for volunteers to help me organize this ride. I appreciate it. Okay? So everybody have a wonderful, beautiful day. Or actually, it's night. Have a beautiful night. Be blessed. And if nobody tells you they love you today, God does, and so do I. Love you. Bye.